Hello and welcome to Beer Club. I'm Luke, and this week we are drinking Ferryman's Ale from Martinborough. This is the Beer Jerk weekly drink along, and I was very happy to see that the guys at Martinborough had made an English style bitter. Cheers. Absolutely wonderful style. That you don't see much of these days, even in England, let alone here on the opposite side of the world. So yeah, I spotted this getting released and it was a must grab to share with all you wonderful people as part of Beer Club. And this may be the first time you've drank a Martinborough beer, even though they've been going for a little over 10 years now. It's a pretty small operation in Martinborough, so it was started by a couple of mates, Hayden and Stephen. Started in a shed, of course, with a 50-litre brew kit, cranking out beers, and their goal was always to have a hospitality venue, not to try and compete with the likes of Lion and DB and the giants with getting beer in six-pack in supermarkets across the world. It was to service the little local community and tourists in the area. And the brewery and tap room looks a lot like this beautiful image. It's sort of like a little cottage just amongst the countryside in Martinborough, which famously is wine country in New Zealand. It's the only brewery in the area. So the saying goes that it takes a lot of beer to make good wine. So I'm sure they probably do have lots of very thirsty people that work in viviculture and looking after all of the vines down there. But yeah, they also make some great beer in Martinborough, which I looked it up. There's about 2,000 people living in Martinborough. So definitely a pretty small place to be home to an excellent brewery. But as I say, they do get a lot of tourists there as well. I've not visited. I reckon I need to make a summertime visit to Martinborough this year and go and see the guys in person. So these days it's owned by Pankaj, who I've just met once briefly. He popped in to say hello a few weeks ago when he was in Auckland. So a really nice guy that's got a background in hospitality internationally and came back to New Zealand and saw this as the perfect operation to really put his stamp on. And there's Eugene is the head brewer there. So he's been there for a few years. So he brewed at the Occasional Brewer, went there for a while and then went over to Canada to brew for a while and then came home to New Zealand. And he's looking after things on the, well, it's not just a small kit, it's a 1,200 litre kit, which is a very decent size brewery, considering they're mainly selling most of their beers directly and canning and everything. So Eugene was at the Occasional Brewer, which was a really cool Wellington institution. It was really wonderful for a while. If you don't know about it, it was a shop where you could go and learn how to brew and to brew. And it was cool to visit, and they had like dozens and dozens of plastic fermenters just bubbling away at any one time, and from all the, so it would be people learning to brew, but also I think a lot of people just went and brewed there because they didn't have their own brew kit or they lived in a small apartment or flat share or something. So it's a really awesome business. But of course, COVID wasn't that kind on businesses like that. It's really cool that yeah, Eugene is over at Martinborough now amongst the vineyards making some excellent beer, such as this one. Bitter is a very important historic style and is the pathways between, well, pale ale and bitter are the same thing. So in the olden days in England, you had porter, mild, and bitter, really. So this bitter is not especially bitter compared to what we're used to with modern pale ales and IPAs. It's a relatively subdued hop profile. It's more malt forward. You get more caramel type character. The malt's bringing like biscuity, bready, caramel, just lovely slight sweetness, but nowhere near as sweet as a mild, which really is a beer that just tastes like nice biscuits. And of course, it's not a porter or a stout, so you haven't got any like roast and coffee type character. So this was the third way. So yeah, this style of beer is more bitter than those other two styles that were around in England at the time. So got known as bitter, and you'd have your 3 varieties. So it would be ordinary bitter, which is generally less than 3.8%. Then your best bitter, which is an example of what we're drinking now, sort of 4.5%, and then an extra special bitter. So that's normally pushing sort of 5% plus. So that's a pretty big hitter. So yeah, this is definitely in the best bitter area. And if you've had beers like London Pride, or like a Timothy Taylor Landlord is a really famous example. And yeah, these are the beers that are designed to be drunk. It's not necessarily a beer style that's supposed to be contemplated and for you to think too much about. It's a great beer to drink after a hard day at work, amongst the vineyards, or doing whatever it is you've been doing. So I'm going to have to put some work into making this beer last for the next 5 minutes while I'm chatting away, because it's just going to so easily. And this beer style came about thanks to developments with the Industrial Revolution and malting beer. So historically, beer was malted. Your barley was malted rather. So you have sheaves of barley that get harvested and dried, and then malted and cooked basically. So they put in a kiln, which is kind of oven. And then today you go into a homebrew shop and you've got 30 different varieties of malt that you can have. And it's all the same plant, it's all barley, only it's just cooked for different amounts of time and at different heats. So you have your everything from just black that just looks like charcoal, all the way to just the palest of pale. And then in between you've got things like your biscuit malt, your Vienna malt that have sort of a light biscuity character to them, through every colour spectrum and of toasting, I suppose. But in the olden days, of course, everything was cooked over wood, and that's sort of the storyline of Rauch beer. Those are German smoked lagers that are still very popular in Bavaria and popular with me. Whenever anyone makes a Rauch beer, I absolutely love it, because that used to be how all beer tasted, in the same way that all beer used to be kind of wild and funky before Louis Pasteur isolated yeast, and we got brewer's yeast isolated. Everything had symbiotic organisms in there. There was Pediococcus, and there have been Lactobacillus, there have been definitely a lot of Brettanomyces in beers. So yeah, even 200 to 300 years ago, beer would have been radically different. It would have been sour and full of wild yeast character, and a lot of beers would have been smoky. And it was the invention, the development of Coke that changed everything and meant that you could have pale ales. So Coke is a kind of smokeless fuel, which means that you could have suddenly these beautiful English pale malts that then went across to Europe, and the technologies were shared over there. So that was the invention of the modern pale lagers that we see today. But yeah, these pale ales that were also known as bitters meant that you could actually showcase the hop character more so. And the hop character we have here is a really classic hop for this style of beer. It's made with East Kent Goldings. So East Kent Goldings were originally known as Mr. Golding's hops. And Mr. Golding was a farmer and a grower in Kent. And one day he noticed that there was a hill where the hops were just growing really, really well. And it was due to the environment of East Kent. You've got a really loamy soil, it's really dry there, and it just really has the exact terroir that you need for this, the expressive character of this hop that will become known as East Kent Goldings. It is actually a geographically protected hop, in the same way as things like Champagne or Stilton. So you can actually dig up a hop plant in East Kent and take it outside of this area of, it's about, I think I read 240 acres of East Kent Goldings are being grown. So take it out of this small area of East Kent, and you can't call it East Kent Goldings because it actually isn't East Kent Goldings. Although it's the same plant, you grow it and the hop flowers will taste differently because of terroir. That is exactly how it works. Take it to a different place and it will end up tasting pretty different. So yeah, this is indeed East Kent Goldings. And alongside Fuggles, which has a very similar story, so Fuggles hops, they prefer a wetter environment, but they are the grandfathers to so many modern hops. So from East Kent Goldings, as a grandchild, we get Nelson Sauvin, and we get things like Citra and Centennial, and everything just comes down from these sort of grandparent hops. And of course, well, not of course, but hops were introduced to Britain as a plant to be used in beer by the Belgians, and around the 1500s. And of course, before that, hops first emerged in what is now Mongolia, thousands of years ago. But anyway, we will not get too far into the ancient history of hops, although it is something I'd like to do a lot more research on one day, and perhaps write a book on the history of hops and humanity. So East Kent Goldings, absolutely perfect choice. It is similar to a few weeks ago when we were drinking the Hofbrau House beer, and I was saying there's bugger all hops in there. This is it's a moderately hoppy beer. It's all about balance. It's not over the top like modern pale ales, but that is not a bad thing. It does have hop character. And the hop character is that lovely, people talk about spice. I often think about like English hedgerows, like flavours of nettles, of blackberries, just wet grass and herbs growing and cress and just all the wonderful things that happen in a countryside hedgerow. That's sort of what I get from these hops like East Kent Goldings. People that are less kind describe them as twiggy, because we're not getting flavours of tropical punch bowl, citrus, guava, coconut in this. It's a beer that tastes like an English hedge, which I'm pretty into, with a side of digested biscuits. That is about it from me. Wonderful beer, lovely to see a very, very well executed English bitter. It's a beer style where it's just so obvious when a recipe has just been knocked together and one's been bashed out. There's nowhere to hide really with these simpler old-fashioned beer styles. It's very, very easy to get the balance off. And especially modern brewers these days that are catering to modern tastes. It's very easy to be quite heavy-handed with the hops, or make it imperial, or add some adjuncts. So the restraint and the balance that goes into making a really nicely balanced bitter really does shine through in the result. And this is a lovely example. Great that we've been able to get some cans all the way from beautiful Martinborough to share with people all over the country. It'd be cool to get some more beers from Martinborough because they are doing some cool stuff down there. So excellent work to the team, and thank you all for joining us. We'll see you again for Beer Club next time. Cheers.